So Bernie Sanders, if you want to call him that. Bernard sounds kind of cool. But so Bernie came out with his kind of economic plan, if you will, to help address just the huge economic crisis that the U.S. is experiencing right now due to the coronavirus pandemic. His plan would entail about a $2 trillion investment for the American people, for the working people, for the citizens, not the multiple trillions of dollars that the Trump administration has already given to Wall Street. And more than likely, Trump administration will be giving further bailouts to these huge, massive corporations. And it looks like they're will propose some type of cash payment to the U.S. Population as well, but looks like it would probably be a one-time thing and not nearly enough. I read a statistic from the amount that it was somewhere, it's over $3 trillion now, I believe, that the Trump administration has given to Wall Street and these big, financial corporations. That amount, if it would have provided about half of the United States with like 10 grand a person. So again, whenever any type of economic crisis or downturn or recession happens in the USA, it's always socialism for the corporations and very wealthy, and rugged individualism, capitalism for everybody else. And Martin Luther King pointed that out, obviously more eloquently than I just did, but the point remains the same. Anytime the economy is doing really well, it's the people at the top, these huge corporations, that benefit disproportionately, while the working class just gets crumbs. And then when we have these huge economic downturns, it's the working people who obviously feel the brunt of it. But again, it's the huge corporations and the very wealthy who end up getting bailed out and provided these help and support from our government, while the working class is always an afterthought, if at the best case scenario. So Bernie Sanders' plan would provide $2,000 a month to every household. I was confused if it's for every household or if that would be for every individual. I think it should be for every individual, at least over 18, and then maybe $500 or $1,000 a month for every person in the house under 18. He's also proposing a moratorium on evictions. Foreclosures, utilities being shut off, as well as moratorium on all student loan payments, as well as increasing the amount of unemployment insurance. He's proposing that unemployment insurance be funded up to 100% of people's incomes, up to a $75,000 cap. I think that's pretty reasonable. You can live pretty well on $75,000 a year, as well as he's obviously called for all the testing and treatment of the coronavirus should be covered by the government. And this is a quote from him: "We can do it. We can address this crisis. We can minimize the pain." And again, Bernie Sanders is the only candidate. And obviously, Trump's really horrible on this issue. His first, instinct, because he's a corporate, neoliberal, fascist light in some ways, but his first instinct was to bail out Wall Street. Bernie's first instinct is to help the working people, help the U.S. citizens, not these huge financial corporations that will be fine in the long run. He wants to actually, minimize the suffering. Like he said, we can do this. We can address this crisis. And Bernie Sanders has the ideas and the vision and the policies to actually help people through this coronavirus pandemic. And it's going to get worse before it gets better, especially if the government doesn't really take these much needed measures to address some of this suffering. We're already seeing, lots lots of layoffs due to businesses just completely having to shut down, whether it's in the retail, the service industry, airlines, cruise ships, Boeing, all of these different types of sectors, the food industry, everything's being affected by this. We need to make sure we're helping all the people in the U.S. stay afloat so they're able to, pay their rent, pay their mortgages, or how or some other countries, Italy, their government is paying all the mortgages right now. The U.S. government could be giving people money so they're able to pay their mortgages or just pay it directly or something like that. But again, the first instinct of the people in power is oftentimes to bail out these huge financial corporations, these huge Wall Street firms, when, like they did in 2008, 2009, when they were actually the ones who caused the financial crisis. And again, it's not the working people's fault that they're being affected by this. So it should be the government stepping in to help out, to ease the suffering, to ease the pain, so people can stay in their houses, so they can put food on the table, so they can take time off work to hang out with their kids at home because the kids' school is out for the next 6 weeks. All of these things, Bernie Sanders actually has the correct policy solution and rationale behind it. He wants to make the U.S. work for the working people, not for the billionaire owner class as it currently stands. And I mean, there is no choice. It's Bernie, or it's back to further immiseration for the working class in the U.S. And the working people in the U.S. are already suffering enough. So I mean, it's like Bernie's the only choice, and his kind of economic plan to address the coronavirus pandemic is just another example of that. $2K a month. I hope it's for each individual, not per household. And then extending unemployment insurance to cover 100% of wages up to $75K a year. That's awesome. Moratorium on evictions, foreclosures, utility shutoffs, as well as student loan payments. And I mean, what else do you need? I mean, there's nothing else to say at this point. Honestly, I don't know why anybody who is at least voting in their own self-interest, unless you are part of that billionaire owner class, why you would be supporting anybody but Bernie Sanders at this point. But again, unfortunately, not everybody votes for what's in their own self-interest, which is really interesting and strange. Instead, some people vote on these really abstract and amorphous issues, like, oh no, Joe Biden seems like a nice guy, he seems really empathetic, I think he could beat Donald Trump, I just want to return to normalcy. And obviously the idea that Joe Biden could defeat Donald Trump is laughable on many levels, but these are the type of things that more moderate or centrist voters, whether they be Democrat or Republican, support candidates on, when in fact people should actually be voting based on the candidate who will actually implement policies and supports things that will improve the material conditions in their lives. That's why I support Bernie Sanders, because he supports things like Medicare for all, so we don't have 68,000+ people dying each year because they don't have health care. We don't have 500,000 people going bankrupt each year. So we legalize marijuana because it's just completely ridiculous that a plant is made illegal, and not to mention the horribly racist war on drugs, taxing Wall Street, ending the wars, protecting and expanding Social Security, something that Joe Biden has wanted to cut multiple times in the past as a senator, a Green New Deal, so we actually have an inhabitable planet to live on. All of these things are super important. Canceling student loan debt, making college tuition free. All of these things, again, are not radical or extreme. They would honestly just be catching the U.S. up to the rest of the industrialized world. Bernie understands that. He gets it. There is no choice. Bernie's the only choice, not me, us. Peace. Much love. Share your thoughts in the comment sections down below.